On a Friday afternoon, Jesus of Nazareth yields his spirit. The crucifixion concludes with a sealed tomb and a heavy physical silence. To the guards and the grieving disciples, the story ends here. Yet the Gospel of Matthew records immediate physical reactions that suggest the opposite of defeat. The earth shakes, rocks split. Inside the temple, the thick veil separating the Holy of Holies tears in half, from top to bottom. These events point to immense tension behind the scenes. If the body is dormant, what is happening during those 72 hours of silence? And where did Moses, David, and the righteous of the Old Testament go when they died, before this sacrifice was made? Those 3 days were not a period of sleep. As the clock ticked forward on the surface, a prophesied descent began below, a targeted movement into the spiritual underworld. To understand the magnitude of the resurrection, we must first map the spiritual vacuum into which Christ stepped. Ancient biblical texts describe the realm of the dead as Sheol. Before the crucifixion, this was the default destination for all human souls, a spiritual holding place. This map shows Sheol's geography. It splits into 2 environments. One side, Abraham's bosom, is a place of rest for the righteous. The other is a zone of distress for the condemned. A deep, uncrossable chasm sits between them, creating a permanent structural division. This text shows the ancient Hebrew record of these realms. Figures like King David wrote that the Messiah would enter this space, but his soul would not be left there, nor would his body see corruption. Christ's entry into this divided realm on Friday afternoon marked the moment ancient prophecy became spiritual reality. His path led past the righteous zone into the deepest abyss. The Apostle Peter indicates that Jesus confronted imprisoned, fallen spirits there, entities held in darkness since the days of Noah. He did not arrive to offer them salvation. He arrived to deliver a cosmic declaration. The crucifixion had successfully bypassed their jurisdiction and stripped them of their power. By meeting death as a sinless sacrifice, Jesus assumed total command over the underworld. He seized the legal authority over death and Hades. This transfer of ownership ended the era where death acted as an inescapable cage. The fear and dominion that had governed humanity since the beginning was broken. With this authority secured, Jesus returned to Abraham's bosom. He initiated the release of the Old Testament saints who had spent centuries waiting for the fulfillment of the promise. This spiritual exodus saw Jesus lead the righteous out of Sheol. Matthew records that this movement even manifested on earth, where the bodies of deceased saints rose and appeared throughout Jerusalem. According to the book of Hebrews, the descent was followed by a heavenly ascent. Christ entered the celestial Holy of Holies to present his own blood as the final redemption. This action settled the legal debt of human sin, bridging the distance between God and humanity that had existed since the fall. The upward movement emptied the waiting room of the righteous, changing the architecture of the afterlife for all who followed. Sunday morning confirms the result already secured in the deep. The empty tomb is the physical evidence of a spiritual conquest that took place while the world was still mourning. This shift moved the focus away from the earthly temple. When the veil ripped, it proved that the restricted, mediated access to God was over. This map shows the new trajectory for human souls. Believers today no longer wait in a subterranean holding area. They transition directly into the presence of Christ. Because Christ retains authority over the grave, death has been demoted. It is no longer a destination, but a doorway. The 3 days of silence covered the most active rescue mission in history. It proved there is no depth of human existence that God's authority cannot reach and redeem.